Now, Andrew, you mentioned motivation. Lucia, you mentioned excitement. And that reminds me, in my career, I have not seen this much interest on the part of patients for any drug. And chatting with Francesca a little while ago, you've seen the same sort of thing in Italy, right?
Yes, actually, also in Italy, the patients are coming and referring to the clinics and asking for what's new, and they specifically refer to momelotinib if they are anemic. So momelotinib is really becoming something exciting from a medical point of view, but also from a kind of psychological point of view, because it can be very resourceful for this setting of patients.
And as you said, Lucia, one drug that can address kind of all three cardinal aspects of the disease. No, absolutely. And my experience too has been very favorable, particularly on the anemia front. I think in the second line setting where there's more use of it, right? At least today, I think more of the use is in second or later lines. I found it to perhaps not be as strong for spleen and symptoms as for anemia, but the anemia effect is absolutely quite striking. Do you guys agree with, has that been your...
Definitely. And also, I think that one thing that is very important to the patient is the tolerability, the general tolerability.
Absolutely.
And that is a strong point in favor of momelotinib, because we have very few extreme hematological side effects. They are very manageable with transitory dose reduction. So this is perceived also as a safe drug and easy drug to take. And also we can maintain the dose intensity.
Absolutely.
So while we tend to decrease the dose with other JAK2 inhibitors, momelotinib generally keeps 200 milligrams once a day, also in the case of low platelet count and anemia. And this is very important because it may be connected with a higher probability of long-term response, and so that who knows?
Absolutely, dose intensity, right, which is the struggle with ruxolitinib in the cytopenic, as you have shown. Now, with regards to tolerability, right, like what have folks, if anything, noticed as being potential issues with momelotinib? I found it generally very well tolerated, of course.
Yeah, when you look at the clinical trials with momelotinib, you get the sense that it's pretty well tolerated, right? And when you compare it to other JAK inhibitors, I think what's distinguishes some of the tolerability with pacritinib and fedratinib is this GI toxicity that was seen at high rates. Now, this is a GI toxicity with those agents that probably can be mitigated with antiemetics and counseling and antidiarrheals as necessary, but ruxolitinib really had quite low rates of that in its clinical trials, and momelotinib very much reflected those low rates. There was one study that showed that maybe there was a little bit more nausea with momelotinib compared to ruxolitinib, but the rates of diarrhea were quite similar, and still overall the rates were low. I would say since approval and since commercial use, that's been really what's mirrored. There's some GI toxicity, just like there is some with ruxolitinib as well, but it pales in comparison to what we see with other JAK inhibitors. Early in the development of momelotinib, there was a concern for peripheral neuropathy. Didn't see so much of that in the Momentum study, but something I do keep an eye on in our patients. We've had some that have some peripheral neuropathy. I think that's very difficult to necessarily attribute to the drug or not, as that is a common symptom in patients, especially as they get older and have vascular issues, which many of our patients do have, but something to keep an eye on.